Good morning again. Thanks ever so much for joining us, for taking the time to watch our webinar this morning. We're excited to be launching SkillSet. So many of you will have seen snippets of this before in other sessions, but we're kind of now starting to officially launch the new product. So SkillSet is a skills marketplace created by employers for young people. And we're going to talk you through that today and give you a quick demonstration. My name is John Gray. I'm one of the directors at UXplore. I'm really pleased and grateful to be joined by Julie Baker, Social Value Manager from Keepmoat, and Stuart Allen, Chief Education Officer at SCL. Both will leave their kind of views as we go on through the presentation this morning. I think it really brings to life the colour of the tool that we're showcasing. So in terms of the running order, I'm going to give a very quick introduction to UXplore for those of you who've not come across UXplore before. I'm then going to talk about what SkillSet actually is and give you a walkthrough of the SkillSet product. And we're going to hear from Stuart along the way as well there. And then we're going to turn to Julie for an employer perspective and why employers are getting involved in our new solution. And then there'll be time for questions at the end. Feel free, if you've got questions, drop them in the chat. I'll wait till the end, and it's a pretty informal webinar, so if you wait till the end, we can pick up those as well. So a little bit about UXplore. For those of you who've not come across UXplore before, UXplore, we've been on the go for over 20 years now. Lots of experience creating youth engagement and careers development solutions in various guises through the history. Many people will know us for the Start platform, and then in the last 12 months we've started to work, still continuing with virtual work experience solutions, but then launched this new product called SkillSet, which I'll talk to you about today, and really understand where that came from. And we're trusted by some great employers. There's just a few other logos on there. We're engaged with lots more through this new project, but large employers, some of the global giants there, people like Coca-Cola and Bentley and others, but down to smaller organizations as well. One of the nice things with SkillSet is we're seeing more smaller regional employers getting engaged as well. And the USP really of UXplore is combining that reach and insights to help students engage with employer partners. So we work with hundreds of schools and colleges across the country, and some great employer networks as well. And by the way, I'll share the slides afterwards. So I'm not going to talk through all the detail on the slides, but we'll share those so that you've got access to them. So what we're all here to see is SkillSet, and I've put there why you need SkillSet, but I'm going to cover what is SkillSet as well, and really just to firstly explain where the concept of SkillSet came from. This will be a situation that I'm sure lots of you are here in your kind of day-to-day roles as well. That through talking to our employee networks, our partners, we often hear that young people don't come to the world of work with the skills that they need, and I think very often, and my daughter is a good example of this at the minute. So just started A-levels, applying for part-time jobs. They have the skills, but they don't have the context in which to talk about the skill. Employers are wanting them to talk about skills as though they have worked, but for many of them, they've not worked. So I think that's a challenge that we're trying to address with the product. Sometimes as well, they've just not been taught the skill. So they're taught to write. They're taught to write reports and other forms of writing, but they might not have been shown how to write an email, or they're taught to communicate, but they're not confident in using a telephone. So it's those types of things that we're trying to unpack with SkillSet, and we know that those are the skills that are needed by employers because we're talking to the employers through our networks. So we're changing that by bringing together employers to deliver in context skills courses, so in context skills training. And that's a word that I'll use a lot as we talk through this morning, context. I hope that I do, because when I'm watching the recording back, people will pick me up on that, but I'm sure that I will. And so we'll start to see that as we work through. So what makes SkillSet different? I've already talked about a couple of these things, but we're really improving youth work readiness in line with the skills that employers need the most. And we know that the skills that employers need, because we're talking to the real employers, like people like Julie, who's on the call today. So every module is co-developed with the employer. Modules are typically 30 to 60 minutes long. Most will be around that 60-minute mark. And each module is as that employer lead who work with us to identify what content's needed to improve the skills of the learner, but also they're involved in setting the tasks. They star in the modules as well, as we'll see from the demonstration that I walk through in a second. We're showcasing early career roles through a lens of skills. So we're approaching this from a skills perspective first. So the example that I'll walk through on the demo is for an organisation called Pure Energy. They're a music production company, of a really exciting cool music app. And we're going to look at written communication. So the skill is written communication, particularly around email and social media. But the skill is around written communication. So it's the young person will come to the platform wanting to improve their written communication, but they'll be introduced to Pure Energy as a music company and to a digital marketing executive as a role. So it's looking at it through that lens of skills. I mentioned it's scenario based, which we think is the real way to give the context of the learning to drive the knowledge and engagement. And once students get to the end of the module, they'll get a certificate. They'll get a certificate which is branded with the employer and with you Explore, and a couple of other nice little cool features as well, which I'll show you when we get onto the demo. So next up, I'm just going to introduce Stuart, who's been working with us closely on this. Stuart will introduce himself, I'm sure, but as an educational specialist, has just been helping us in terms of the pedagogy of the modules. So I'll just bring Stuart to talk about that.
Thanks, John, and morning, everyone. So yeah, just a quick scene setter or context. Chief Education Officer at SCL Education, and we're a national education provider. And we've been working closely with John and Martin and the team at Explore because this is a really, really exciting project, and it's amazing to see it get to this place. But still to the day, my favourite job, and will always be my favourite job, is being a teacher. So and I've also got a background in e-learning development and all of the stuff that has been modernised in education. So when looking at this as a customer, when supporting John and the team as someone who works in this field, one of the things that was critical that the team needed to get right is anything where it is online learning, e-learning, solution, etc., needed to be founded or built on real strong pedagogy, as if it was in a classroom delivering face-to-face teaching and learning, or as close to that as possible. So what's really fantastic around the product and how each of these skill set modules are being developed is it's been built upon a sound evidence-based teaching and learning structure or framework that allows learners to really reflect on what they previously know, be introduced to new knowledge and skills through multiple ways of that being delivered, whether that's through video, through slide deck, through wider reading, but also has very immediate opportunities to assess what they can remember, what they're taking from that content before progressing them into something much more applied and is there to develop a deeper understanding of what they're trying to take from that module, and that through the scenario-based exercises with the employers set as a real-life working situation. So not only are they getting that foundation theory of the topic or the skill set being covered, they're getting the opportunity to think hard, think about thinking, all that metacognition practice in relation to an employer set scenario. So it's not just about churning through something, getting a bit of information, a bit of a multiple choice assessment, and off they go, and they go and forget everything. It takes them on a journey to allow them to understand the basics before really thinking hard and applying it into a scenario set by the employer, by someone who potentially is in a role that they're striving to look at as a part of their next step. And what's really nice about the module as well is the opportunity for the learner at the end of that module, once they've done all of that tough stuff, is, well, where are they now in their confidence against where they were started, which is that real important distance traveled. I was here, I've done this module, and now I'm here. I can walk away going, I'm confident I've got something from this, and I can progress into applying that in further depth. depending on how this module is integrated within the provision types, the curriculum, the sessions that a provider may use it. So I'm really impressed with how the team's brought this together, and as a customer and as a teaching expert going through this stuff, it's really pleasing to see that journey and that pedagogy being built upon. So that's kind of where we are for now, John. I don't know if that is helps or not, but that's kind of
super
where we are.
Yeah, thanks, Stu. So moving on then to a couple of the benefits of SkillSet. So a couple of slides just to tell you some of the benefits, and then we'll walk into a demo. So first of all, we hope it will give learners that competitive advantage by giving them, you know, some industry aligned learning. There's some great employers on there within our network that will be creating those modules, so they're able to put some of those employer names in their CV and talk about those at interview. It's absolutely free of charge. So to providers, schools, individuals, it's all there free of charge to use. And that our employer partners are adamant on that. It's easy to customize. So particularly thinking, and Stuart will talk about this on the next slide a little, I'm sure, but particularly thinking about things like work experience now and study program and tutorial, the learner can choose modules themselves, or they can be guided by a careers practitioner or a teacher to pick which modules they need. They're all short, so you can configure those in the best way that you need. You get access to the data, so we can see which students have completed. As Stu's mentioned, with the progress, we can see which students have made progress in terms of their confidence rating, and so on. And we can bulk upload users and things as well. So if you want to like bulk upload an whole year group, we can easily do that. So you can track those learners, and you engage in learners in an interface which is built around young people, learners in general, and providers. And we're doing kind of user testing on that all the time to make sure that it's the best it can possibly be. So Stu's just going to talk through a couple of these more kind of teaching-based benefits, and then we'll jump into the demo.
Thanks, John. So yeah, previously I've talked about teaching and learning framework, and that's number one from my personal point of view. Is it's got to be able to take learners on a journey. I'm glad to say that I believe it does, and the way that the team have built it, based on a really sound evidence-based teaching and learning framework, is a real benefit of this e-learning module or this e-learning product. From a provider point of view, and at SEL we're a post-16 provider. But the benefits are pretty similar to those pre-16 providers, in the sense of the opportunity of using this product in a flexible way of integrating it into a tutorial program, or integrating it into some form of curriculum module or curriculum plan. It is allowing you to deliver this directly to the learner, so the learners can sit down in timetable and study this as it is, and be taken on a journey because of the quality of the product and how it's been developed. Or it can be integrated into the learners doing it in a flipped learning capacity. They can do the module before they come to a tutorial, and then that time in tutorial is spent more on debate, discussion, recall, interleaving it into other curriculum modules, etc. So the flexibility of how this can be used to take learners on a journey and to add significant value is a real benefit of this product. For us at SEL, we're integrating it within our personal development tutorial program, and there's times over the academic year that we're dedicating sessions for the completion of modules that are the most pertinent to the learners' interests and desires and what they want to do next. So that's a real benefit from a provider point of view of this SkillSet package. Secondly, the employer, and the fact that employers are designing this, are engaged in this, are driving this, I think is the genius of this product, because we all know, for those that work in education, the focus on destination focused curriculum, next step progression, preventing or trying to reduce the NEET issue that sadly this country is facing across the board at the moment. The fact that employers are guiding young people into what's expected to get a job within their organisation is the genius of this product. There's not much of that out there at the moment in relation to personal development. You see loads of tutorial packages, you see lots of modules that are based on stuff that absolutely is important for learners. This is something different because of the employer is driving the content, and that's where I think it's a really exciting opportunity. I also like how the employers are engaged in also helping these young people put themselves in the shop window. So the other thing about having the employers is there's an opportunity of opening the floodgates for young people to potentially consider apprenticeships or jobs within the organisation, sponsoring or designing these products and these modules based on what the quality of the work that is coming through the assessment, because one of the uniqueness of this package is the employers can see what the learners are doing and can spot talent, can identify talent, can nurture talent, and therefore then open doors for work experience days, etc. So the fact that the employer is the heartbeat of this product is what I think makes it very, very attractive to me as a post-16 provider. And then finally, I hate talking about Ofsted, because we shouldn't worry about if you're a good provider of pre-16 or post-16 education, who cares about Ofsted? They're a byproduct, because what we do is for the sake of the young people and the adults and the apprentices we serve. But of course, they have a massive impact upon the judgments and reputation and sometimes the funding of providers. So the fact that from an Ofsted point of view, this product is going to give some tangible evidence of personal development criteria, behaviours and attitude criteria, and that there's some data that can be spat out that says a learner started here, they've done this module, they've had some real good discussions with their tutors or their teachers within the centre or within the provider, and now they are here, is going to allow that distance travelled to be an evidence piece of quantitative data that shows the impact, the purpose, the value of what the learner is getting out of this product. And it's just a fantastic way of adding value to the learner's depth, breadth and preparation for their next step. So whilst Ofsted is a byproduct, it is giving us some nice evidence to show and put under the nose of this is how well our learners are doing, and this is the impact of this product, in addition to everything else you do within your curriculum plan. So from a provider point of view, this is what makes this product really exciting to me, to us, and that's why we're engaged with you, exploring in not just helping with the development, but as a customer.
Super, thank you, Stuart. Thank you. So yeah, great to hear that. You know, the benefits are great coming from us as you explore, but to hear it coming from someone like Stuart. I'm just going to skip out of the slides and across into the platform now. So hopefully you can now see a screen which says browse the SkillSet library, and I'm just going to walk across a couple of different tabs. So I'm only going to spend a few minutes just walking through the structure of the product, pointing out some of the features and things. What I'll do then is on a follow-up email, I'll send you a link so that you can log in yourself. You can then like watch the videos, you can watch the content properly, but there's not, I didn't want to kind of start videos and things running today and take up lots of people's time. So learners will come to this from the library, from the SkillSet library. They'll be able to you know, filter on different types of skills and subsets of skills and things. But I just wanted to show you this really quickly with some of the kind of employers that we've already got engaged and some of the modules that we're developing. Written communication is the module I'm going to walk through in a bit more detail in a second. That's led by Pure Energy Music, one of the leaders in fitness music. And then just to walk through slowly, I'll just pick out a couple as we go. So we've got people like Studio, a smaller regional based employer in the Northwest. And then we bring in some bigger employers like EMR, who are a global leader in metal recycling. We're currently, you'll see Greater Lincolnshire LEP on here a few times. We've not actually identified the key employers yet, but the Greater Lincolnshire LEP are working with us as a careers hub. And they are working with a number of modules across the region, working through their cornerstone employers. So they will have employer names pinned to them in due course. Yorkshire Wolves Teaching, which is about delivering and planning presentations. So in the context of teaching. Scroll through a few more people like Cisco, you will have heard of, I'm sure, big employer. Careers in Racing is part of British Horse Racing. But if you look at some of the skills that are listed in here as well, Careers in Racing is a good one, where so meet and greet skills is a skill that we all need in our working world at some point. So whether it's serving a coffee to someone or whether it's meeting someone at a prestiged event like at Ascot, which is what the unit is focused around, it's how do you feel confident as a learner, as a young person generally, to look someone in the eye, shake their hand, smile, welcome them. they're things that they're not necessarily taught on, not every provider teaches. So I think that's a nice example. Keepmoat, large construction business firm, we're going to hear from Julie shortly, and the list goes on. So I just wanted to show you the kind of employers we've got. So some of the employers in there, some of the bigger names you'll know as well. James's Places, large hotel firm, Coca-Cola, BAE Systems. So there's some great provider employer names coming through there. So to hop across to the Pure Energy module. So this is Pure Energy, as I said, music based employer. The skill that we're going to look at within this module is written communication. So it's focusing on written communication, and specifically it's going to tease out things like how to write for social media and how to write for email. So as Stuart's talked about already, there's the kind of the structure and the format of these modules will largely be the same throughout. The thing that differs is slightly is the time. Some modules will be slightly less. Most modules will be up to 60 minutes long. The differentiator will be if it's quite an easy skill to deliver content for, then the task might not be as long, might not be as meaty, and that's where some of the time reduces. But there's still the tracking and the evidence in there. So each one has a welcome. I'll just skip through some of these. So as we talked about, each module will start off with this confidence rating. So the learner will select what level of confidence they have in this particular skill at the moment, and they can write some reflection there as well. And then you'll see at the end we ask that same question, and that's what's given us the distance traveled in terms of their confidence rating. So where the product is different then is, and we'll come on to some kind of learning content and things in a minute, but this is Andy Pickles. Andy is the chief exec at Pure Energy. So first of all, we define the skill. What do we mean by the skill of written communication? And then there's videos peppered throughout the program, which you'll see when I share the link. You can just jump into these and watch them. Andy and one of his colleagues introduces the business. They talk about what Pure Energy does and the importance of these skills in their business. From our testing with learners, they really like that it's someone senior delivering this message. Doesn't have to be someone senior, but they like that it's someone serious taking the time to welcome the module. We then bring in another colleague. So this is where the context comes in again then. So we're talking about written communication. Hannah is the digital marketing exec at Pure Energy. And Hannah now comes in with a video where she introduces her role, what she does in that role, and why written communication is important. Now, at this point, I think it's important to reflect on when we're kind of introducing this to learners. The fact that it's music and that it's marketing in the context is kind of irrelevant. What we're just doing is using that context to deliver the skill. If they by chance like those careers, they're introduced to a career they might not have thought about, brilliant, that's a secondary benefit. But written communication is a skill needed across all roles or most roles. So that's the important thing. But we're using the role and the task to give it the context. So Anna introduces that, and then we skip through to the next section. So next, we've got some learning content. We've got some techniques and tips. This one happens to be a series of short videos explaining, for example, the hints and tips about effective email communication. So all those videos are there. And then there's also a summary. So each module has a summary takeaway of the learning content in written form as a PDF. So learners can print it or they can put it in their e-portfolio or whatever. So that learning content's there. The learning content differs depending on what the module is. So it might be, read a blog or, link to an article or something like that. It's all relevant to the to what makes more sense to the actual learning. As Stu mentioned, there's some learning checks. So we put some learning checks throughout to make sure that students are taking note. We just want to make sure that they're listening and kind of absorbing some of the learning as we go. So we can skip through some questions there. On to the next, and then we bring Hannah back. So Hannah's come back in this module, but in other modules, it might be 2 or 3 different members of the employer, depending on what the skill is. Some employers are favouring bringing in people like apprentices to talk through some of this content as well, because that's quite tangible to the young people and in near line of sight of their careers. But for this one, you'll see Hannah come back several times. Hannah now gives an expert view, so she talks more about the things like the tone of voice, why that's important in terms of writing, particularly for this type of content. And then there's some wider reading, which we find is useful for students who want to do more follow-up work as well. We then bring Hannah back again, and this time Hannah introduces the task. So again, all about context. Hannah's video now introduces the scenario. The scenario is written underneath as well, so the student doesn't have to keep referring back to the video. But basically, the scenario is Pure Energy being shortlisted for a prestigious award. Hannah needs some help from the students to create an email and create social media content to promote the fact that they've been nominated for an award. The students can then write in their responses. Again, all relevant to the context. Some videos, modules are working on, it might be record a short video of yourself, upload that, draw a picture of something, upload that. So it's all relevant to the skill, but we're giving them a safe space to practice that skill. I think important to reflect at this stage as well. The modules are up to an hour long. We're not trying to make them a master of this skill. They're not going to come away being an expert in written communication. It's about introducing to the skill in the context of the employer and feeling more comfortable about the skill and how to apply that when they're talking to employers, and things like CV writing and job interviews. And I'll share an experience of that with my daughter in a second. And then what we do then is show them compare and contrast. So we've given them the chance to have a go at it themselves. We then show them the email that Hannah created, the social media post that Hannah created. That's Hannah again there, and the Pickles. And then there's a time to reflect. So the reflection, the learners again rate their confidence. So hopefully they will have improved their confidence by completing the module. They can then complete the reflection in terms of things I'll remember for next time and so on. What we're just a point in here is we're kind of working with students. So students are testing this. We'll probably just make this one box. There'll be one box to enter reflection in. So I just wanted to kind of mention that, because I think we're making those like little refinements while we're getting the user feedback to make sure that the learners are completely engaged with the process. And then that's the end of the module. So once they get to the end, then there's few options open to the learner, so they can say if they want to keep connected with this particular employer. So let's say little Johnny, who I often refer to as come along, he's done the written communication skill. He's never thought about working in marketing or in music, but he's enjoyed developing the skill. He can then keep in touch with Pure Energy, who might promote more modules or promote apprenticeship vacancies or other things as well. And that's where that lens of looking at the career through the lens of the skill comes in. We give them the certificate to download, badged by the employer and badged by you Explore. And then they can start to navigate to like, they can go back to look at other modules, or they can visit more information about this employer. But one of the nice little things we added was like these like little snippets of text to improve CVs. So this came from a kind of moment of inspiration. As I mentioned, my daughter doing A-levels, applying for part-time jobs, did well with the GCSEs, smart kid, but has never worked before, but she'd applied for part-time jobs. But when I sat down with her when she was writing a CV, and we're talking about, I'm talking, in my job, talking about things like the skills that she needs, and we talk about things like problem solving, and she's like, I don't think I've ever done that. Of course, you've just done GCSEs, you've done lots of problem solving, but she couldn't put it in the context of what an employer, in this case a coffee shop, would be looking for. So how do you solve a problem? Well, I've never done that in work. So the snippets that we give at the end are just to give them some text to start working with, to put in the CV, or in terms of interview prep, which will be another module. So they've got something as a starting point to reference, and to give them that confidence when they're talking to employers. So that's the structure. Yeah, I'm just going to, Stu's popped his hand up, but I was going to come to Stu and just see if there's any kind of things that I've missed there, Stu, from the kind of teaching and learning pedagogy stage, and then we're going to come out of the slide, the presentation, and come across to Julie for her input as well. So yes, Stu, back to you, sir.
It's not really to add anything to what you've gone through, because how you've kind of gone through it, hopefully kind of it shows everyone how that teaching and learning framework flows. But one of the things that I thought was just useful to add from a value point of view is that those that are looking at this and hearing a lot about skills, obviously we know skills can only develop through practice and practice and practice. And one of the things that I really like about what the team have done at UExplore with these products is we've already started that practice element, in the sense of you've learned some knowledge, now you're going to have a practice of developing it in base of a workplace employer set scenario. And then there's this best practice model that allows learners to self-assess, have a comparable, allow them to test themselves against what an actual employee in that workplace does. I think that's really, really effective. One of the things that providers can do, and this is just a recommendation or a bit of sharing best practice of how we've integrated these products into our tutorial program, is it's those providers that then go, well, if they've done the written communication model, how can we get them to practice that further within their upcoming work placement or their upcoming work experience, or what simulated activities can we put in future tutorials that allows them to continue and maintain that practice of something that they've evolved from this product. And I think that's a really important message to providers on this webinar, is this is only as good as you can really make it in relation to how they're going to get a lot from doing this. If you just sat them in front of it and they did it, they're going to get a lot from this. But it's the outstanding stuff is then how you take what they've learned and maintain that practice and interleave it into other aspects of your curriculum. As I've said, whether that's work placement or other curriculum modules that continue their journey. And I just thought that was a helpful thing to share, because that's how we're looking at our curriculum design now. They do this, but how do we maintain that practice so that stuff isn't lost or forgotten? So just wanted to share that, John, because I think, this stuff really excites me. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great to have that context, Stu, because we're not trying to replicate or replace what's done in a school or college around this skill development. It's about a place to introduce people very often to that skill and give them some context in how that skill works in the world of work. As I said, I think earlier, we're not trying to make them a master of this skill or give them that real enhanced skill development, but it's a good starting point. So I'm now going to bring in our second guest for today, Julie, who is Social Value Manager at Keepmoat, one of our employers who we're working with to develop a module. So yeah, thanks again for joining, Julie, and I'll stick the screen share in a second so we can actually see Julie speaking. But yeah, thanks. If you just want to maybe introduce what you do at Keepmoat, Julie, and tell us a little bit about why you've got involved in SkillSet.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for inviting me along. Yeah, so for those that don't know me, Julie Baker, Social Value Manager for Keepmoat Northwest. So in my role involves when we win work in a local area, it's not just about going into an area and building new homes. It's about the impact we can have on the wider area. So that could be recruiting apprentices, supporting schools and colleges, work placements, community organisations. It's quite diverse, my job role, to be fair, and I do really enjoy it. So yes, so why are Keepmoat involved and how we're involved? So as most people will be aware, I'm guessing, on this call, construction industry is facing a skills gap, and you know what? We all need to be doing all we can to address this. We can't just keep talking about it, because we do just keep talking about it. We need to be doing more to address this. And young people, I think they need to understand that school life is preparing them with the skills required for work life. But many young people face the challenges transitioning from education to employment due to the skills gap. So it's important that we empower these young people with the skills they need to succeed, and not only in the chosen careers, but the personal lives too, because this in turn will equip them with the skills that employers, what we need and what we want. So it made perfect sense for Keepmoat to be involved with SkillSet, because, I mean, you have seen today that it provides a platform for making a meaningful impact by offering targeted sessions that are focused on developing essential skills. And best of all, we've heard it, it's designed in partnership with employers. So together we're bridging the skills gap and enhancing young people's employability skills and the career prospects too, rather than all just sitting here complaining about it, that we've not got the right people with the right skills coming through. So how we're involved, we've been working really closely with your team, just like other employees who are engaged in SkillSet, creating these educational materials and resources which will teach the young people the key employability skills. And like you've said today, such as communication, teamwork and time management, key skills that, you know, all industries are looking for, you know, not just construction. And to be fair, we've already said it, you know, the young people, they're already learning these skills in schools, but you've said the important part is that this is linked to an employer and a specific job role. So they get to understand the importance of these skills actually linked to the workplace. Do you know what I've got to say? Do you know what? It's not been at all time consuming. Your team are absolutely fantastic. We've just provided the information about Keepmoat, and like we're looking at the land and partnership role and time management. And the importance of the skill, and then the team have produced the content, and then we've working together now just to amend it, so it was easy and it was a no-brainer for Keepmoat really to be involved. But for me, I think I also the bit I like the fact that you focus on one skill at a time, the young person. So yes, we could have, Keepmoat can have sessions, and I'm absolutely certain that we will, about other skills. But this way, the young person focuses on a skill linked to home building. But then I like the fact that they can go, well, actually, do you know what? I'm going to go to another employer and do the same skill with them. So they're not only developing that particular employability skill, they're also learning about so many different industries, so many different employers and so many different job roles. So it's given them that understanding of how the skill is transferable across so many different industries and a role. So yeah, it's a no-brainer for us to be involved, really.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's really interesting. Come to Stuart in a second. That kind of involvement in the process and the benefit of an employer. One of the things we're finding with our group of employers so far that we're working with is, and Julie's articulated this really nicely, is people want to be involved in the development of skills. So it doesn't have to be employers working with having like creating 10 skill modules. People like being involved in this marketplace, which gives choice to young people and to learners, so they can pick a skill, they can learn that skill, then they can go and do a different skill with a different employer. But all the time they're collecting certificates and knowledge from these different employers. So I think what would be good to hear, Joe, a little bit about is, tell us a little bit about the module that we're developing with you. What skill did you decide to focus on, and why? And then we'll open up to to everybody else for some questions as well then.
Yeah. So Keepmoat chose time management. And the reason, this is a valuable skill, it extends beyond school, and it prepares students for future responsibilities in further education, workplace and personal life too. So we've linked this skill to the land and partnership role, as this is a key skill. You know, land and partnership works on projects that often involve multiple stakeholders and complex timelines. So effective time management ensures that the tasks are completed on time, reducing delays, improves project outcomes. But having said that, you know, this time management absolutely is so important across all departments in home building. I'm really excited, to be fair, about how the young people get on. I can't wait till it goes live, to be honest, because I really want to know how the young people get on with the session. Because first of all, similar to the session that you showed there before, they're going to hear from Keepmoat's Land and Partnership Director. So we've gone down that senior management route, because I think that's good. I think if you get like a senior person within the industry, to introduce Keepmoat to the young people. So she will tell them all about Keepmoat, and then we've gone down the graduate route. So Quayne, our graduate, he then comes on and does all them other sessions, so telling them about the role and how he came into the role as well, because he came in quite diverse, really, and the importance of time management. And then he will, exactly the same, is going to set them a task where they've got to find a suitable piece of land for development. And all throughout this task, they've got time slots, so they've got to, within 15 minutes, do this research and then write the findings. So they've got to plan it out in a diary, because obviously they've got, if they're doing this in school, they'll be doing it maybe in between lessons, or if they're doing it as part of a homework. So they've really got to think about, how they're going to fit all these tasks in to finish the activity within an hour. Yeah. So I'm really excited, because they've got to do a presentation at the end, and what we've said, so the presentation they can do to the teacher, or they could do to like mum, dad, grandma, but actually I've said they can actually get in touch with us and present to us, because I'm quite interested to see what they find. So, and again, there's lots of videos and links, all linked to time management. So yeah, can't wait. Should be super exciting.
Yeah, I think it's a great point there that some of them, so we're designing the content so that it can be, self-marked in a sense. The learner can have the content, they can reflect themselves. As Julie said, on this example, they could present to themselves. If they're on their own in their bedroom, they could just present to their camera, and they could upload that, and that's fine. But then for some employers like Keepmoat, who are really keen to engage with the young people, then Julie's offering that they can get in contact if they wanted to present it to the employer, and Julie will get one of her team will take 15 minutes out and watch that watch that presentation. And we've got other employers who are thinking about this in the same way. They're really seeing it as a way to engage with young people. Whilst it's not always possible because of the volume that we'll get, there'll be ways that we can bring that interaction. So what is just to finish off, Julie, I know we talked a little bit about how the other work that you do in your role, and how you see this, because this is just it's time management, it's one small module, but how you see that fitting in then to the other activities that you deliver as an employer in your role.
So to be fair, I'll use this quite a lot. I mean, I see so many benefits from this, because when I think about, we work in the Northwest, but actually, so let's say we are potentially going to be winning work up in Stoke, but we don't reach Stoke until we've got land there and we're building there. So I'll use this, I will point people in the direction of this nationally. And this will be my inroad into schools, because it's so difficult, to engage. I appreciate schools are really busy, and sometimes it's so difficult to engage, and they haven't got the time, and it's hard for them to pull time out of their diary. But having access to something like this, linking it in, and then going, all right, okay, so they've got the Keepmoat contact. This will be an inroad to us. This will get us a foot in the door in schools, and then we'll go in with further sessions. We can develop on this. I've already started to think about, the next steps. They've found the piece of land. Now I have an activity there that they designed the piece of where they've got to design the development. So I'm planning on using this actually, do you know what? If your students can go on and complete this finding this piece of land activity first, we'll then come in and do this session where we physically go in the school and they now design this piece of land out. Oh, it's just got so much potential, John. Since we've left, I've not stopped thinking about it, how it can be used, and thinking about different skills as well. Because I love the fact for an employer, I think it's fantastic that you record that information so we know which schools have engaged, because if they're making that effort, and doing that and pushing the students down that route to learn these skills, we need to be going in and following that up and going, I believe you've done this skill set. how about this?
Yeah.
Oh, there's just so much you can do with it.
And I really appreciate your input and your enthusiasm about it. I think, like that enthusiasm we're seeing with the other employers as well, that there's a great chance to make a difference. So thank you, Julie. Really appreciate that. And we might get some questions from the audience as well, which we'll come back to in a second. So I'm just going to just in terms of kind of wrapping things up, we'll come to Collie. Start to think about your questions now. If anybody's got any questions, either just drop them in the chat or just stick your hand up and we'll come to you, whether it's for me or Stuart or Julie. I'm sure everybody's happy to take questions. What I'll do when I send out the email follow up with the video recording, I'll share. There's a link on there. Basically, just get by the page. You can then sign up for SkillSet. It's absolutely free of charge to providers. And I'll also send you the links to the SkillSet module that I've demonstrated, so you can actually go in and see the content yourselves as well when you have a bit more time. So Julie, yes, you've got your hand up.
I know. One of the presenters have got me hand up. Well, to be fair, John, I was just keen to know, because I don't actually know who's on the call. If there's any schools on the call, what their thoughts are after seeing this. Do they think they would use this? This is something that's a quite easy fit into, what they're already delivering within the classroom as an addition, to enhance like something, a lesson that they're delivering.
Yeah, Bill, so I think Eleanor Eleanor, go for it.
Yeah, hi. I work in further education at a local school in Mansfield. And I'm agreeing with you. The more people that come through, they see the vocational stuff. Some of them have got part-time jobs, but like we've just gone through the written communication, a lot of them don't understand of how to write a letter, and they'll go, well, we don't need to, it's all online. And they don't, and you're like, yeah, but you're using online language, not correct language, to get your CVs and your letters and a cover letter even sorted, whether it's an email or not. So that's my point of view, and that's why I joined today, because I wanted to see if there was something else that I can take back to college. And like Stuart had mentioned earlier, to see if I can either add it into my curriculum or in the tutorial sessions, which is going to be really, really good, to get them to build upon those skills. And I like it how the fact is that you've given them the opportunity to either get a certificate at the end of it, which we need proof that they've done the work, because I know our learners are very lazy and they'll say, well, I've done it, and they've not submitted any work to go with it because they've just watched the videos. And then to capture that data and say, right, okay, prove to me where it is. But I also like the fact then you've given those little snippets of you can add it to your CV. So if I can go through them and take that back to my manager and say, can I incorporate these in the tutorial sessions? I think that's going to be a really great tool. I know I'm in the travel industry, so some of your employers aren't there, but like you were saying, John, the basic skills of written communication, time management and things like that are there for other employees that they've put in, whether they go and want to work for that company or not, doesn't matter. It's a skill that they're taking away. So yeah, I will be definitely trying to push to be used. So thank you.
Thank you, Elle. That's really great. We'll come to Helen in a second. But I think just a point to add to that. So the skills that we're choosing, particularly in this first wave of the launches, they're transferable skills. So the skills which, talking to employers, can work across most job roles. And I think that's important. So these kind of first 20, 30, 40, 50 skills will be, whilst there's the context of the industry, they can be used across multiple roles. So I think we've got Helen next, and then Stuart.
Hi, yeah, good morning. So I'm at a college in a Catholic college in Leeds. We've actually we would struggle to kind of get things into a tutorial just because it's so ram-packed with information. But we're actually running because this was identified an employability day. So we'll get employers to kind of like come in and do the whole CVs, because they don't know how to write an email. I get emails, just this is for you. And I'm like, and what do you want me to do with it? So all of the kind of stuff that the modules and things are great. I have just a question about the module kind of aspect, knowing them as I do, are they able to, that's all very well good, they can go and do it, they can get the certificate and that's all fabulous. Can they go back to it? Because if they're not at a point where actually they need to write that email or whatever it is, and they're doing it at a certain point because we're putting it into curriculum time, or we set it as part of an action after a careers meeting, then are they able to, once they've done it once, go back to it at that point where they're just about to write an email to an employer?
Yeah. So they can
Okay.
go back into the learning, and then once they've completed the learning as well. So hopefully the ideal scenario would be a student completes several modules. They can then log back into their locker and see the completed modules and the reflections and things as well.
Brilliant.
So it's a good question, actually. It links into learners can either register themselves, so they can register and then log in and see the content, or we can bulk upload like units. So you could register an entire year group or entire school. And then in the reporting, Eleanor, what you can see as well then is, because students will always try and wish to do things as quickly as they can.
Yep.
You can see how long they've spent in the platform. So we'll highlight like RAG rate for you where people have gone through really quickly.
Okay.
So there's always ways to cheat things, but we're doing everything we can to flag to make sure they've had a good experience. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Brilliant, thank you. So that was Helen, and Stuart, you already understood. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just reflecting on a couple of the questions and points which are really, really valid, and it's just got me thinking. I think that without getting too preachy, I'm at SCL, and I think in education in general, we all know we're facing the Gen Z problem, which is the mindset of our young people is completely different to how it's ever been. They are addicted to social media, they're addicted to their phones, they are addicted to dopamine through ways that when we were children we were not subjected to, and therefore the mindset of these young people are completely different, which gives us a brilliant problem to face. If you are within education, we have the chance to influence it. So going back to Eleanor's point around learners thinking that they don't need to learn how to write an email because it all be done online is the reason why I believe this product is so important, because we have got to have a revolution of how we try and get our young people to start realizing and thinking that employment and employers expect certain things, whether you like this or not. And therefore, Helen, you were talking around tutorial being jam-packed and so on. I think there's a need for all of us in this sector to think about actually what is more important for the young people of today, because I'd argue the main aim becomes at the moment less important than the development of the human being that we're going to put out into society as a citizen and a future employee. And therefore, ways in which this product can add value to curriculum that is getting young people to realise the world that they're going into, which is AI is exciting, technology enabled is exciting, but they've still got to have the core transferable skills of writing, resilience, and being able to communicate effectively with diverse clients. And therefore, what this product is really what I like as well, this product is around this sustained employability factor as well, which is the neat problem we're facing in the country right now is we're getting young people, giving them pieces of paper, they're going to get jobs, and then within 2 months they're sacked because they're not good enough with the stuff that the employer is looking at. And therefore this stuff is really fundamental that we get right in education. It becomes at least as important as main aim, because it's okay them having great A-levels or a great BTEC or a great vocational qual, but it means nothing if they're going into working in 1 month, they're getting sacked because they're not able to meet the standards of the employer. And therefore, I urge education providers on this call to really think and look at the curriculum and actually how we can integrate more of this stuff into the journey of these young people, because that's our responsibility. So apologies for being a bit preachy, but that's why I like this project. Hence why I'm a customer, John, and I'm driving this through every single young person I can. So apologies.
No, I appreciate that. Good. Always good and thought provoking. So conscious time, but just to Julie for a final comment, and then we'll wrap things up.
Yeah, I just wanted to come in on that, what Stuart was saying. I mean, employers absolutely will prioritise candidates with these strong skills over technical skills, because at the end of the day, especially in construction, bricklaying, plastering, tiling, do you know what, could be taught on the job. But these skills, communication, teamwork, time management, they're developed by the individuals themselves. We can't teach that. It's them. So it's absolutely important, and we prioritise them over technical skills. It's so essential. There's such a gap there that needs, you know, that's what you're saying. You pick the best person, what you think, and within a month, they're gone.
Yeah.
Because of basic skills.
Yeah, it's really thought-provoking. You're just to pull things together, and like thank everybody. And a couple of people have dropped already and left some nice comments there, but thank you for everybody for taking the time out. If I'll send a follow-up. If you need any more information, please just drop me a line and get in touch. Big thank you to Stuart and Julie for really adding value and the colour and context to the to what we're talking about in the product. I really appreciate your input, and yeah, have a great day, everybody. And look,
John, so sorry to interject. If you want to circulate my email to attendees as well, if they want to reach out separately to have a side conversation about this, no problem at all from a provider point of view. So please circulate my email to delegates. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem at all. Great. Thank you for that. Much appreciated, Stuart. So, yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Great to see everybody, and look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you.
All the best. Thank you.